Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger and welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It's the week of June 1st. Make sure, just as a reminder, that you go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com in order to access the PDF PowerPoint that makes up the bulk of this presentation. Before we get into what's going on in Israel and the Middle East this week, just a couple adverts. Go to our website and check out who we're able to be hosting up here in September 25th. It's a Tuesday, and our good friend Amir Safadi is going to be up here. We're going to have a special luncheon, limited seatings for this kind of a presentation and a Q&A with Amir. And then that evening, we'll be having Amir at the Kroc Center up here. 2 sessions. Again, we think the world of Amir, his expertise in the area, an Israeli, a believer, lives, his backyard's, in a sense, the Valley of Armageddon. And this is a night, especially if you're up here in this area, that you don't want to miss. So check that out. And then I've included a couple promos for some tours that we have coming up. One in particular you'll see, Israel Off the Beaten Path Tour. Limited seats for this, October 14th through the 24th. Check out the points of interest. This is a different type of tour. It will be backed up with a regular, what we call Revealing Israel tour. But again, go to the website, check these out. We would love for you to visit Israel with us in the not too distant future. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the headlines for this week. Obviously, we'll get into the situation with Gaza, but weekly headlines. Did you know that probably, at least the IDF is estimating that over half the air defense batteries that belong to the Syrian President Assad's regime has been destroyed after they fired on Israeli Air Force jets in recent months. Over half the air defense batteries. Now, Assad is denying the presence of Iranian forces right now. We'll have an article coming up about Russia being involved, but he does acknowledge that the forces are no longer in Syria, Iranian forces, but there are advisors. Yeah. The Golan Heights back in the news. You know, Trump's big move to relocate the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, of course, have made major headline news, but the Golan Heights seems to now be in discussions that, it's the highest location in the state of Israel, and apparently President Trump is going to make another clear pro-Israeli move and recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan in months to come. We'll keep our eyes on that. And then some recent statistics that you probably won't find in any major media outlets, but at least 93 of the 112 Palestinians that were killed during the Gaza border riots over the past 9 weeks were either members or affiliated with terrorist organizations. So, what else do we have going on this week? This is where we kind of get into the major articles. Of course, the rockets. I got to say this, and I'll repeat it again and again because I don't think it can be repeated enough. Gaza tensions grew as Palestinians launched over 100 rockets at southern Israeli towns this week. Did you hear that? Over 100 rockets were launched. One in particular landed next to a kindergarten. No children were present, but can you imagine if there were, the casualties that would have taken place? Again, the IDF, because of all this, have retaliated with dozens of airstrikes against Hamas and Islamic Jihad targets. And up to this point in time, there hasn't been any deaths on the Israeli side, but there have been 7 Israelis that have been reported injured. Once again, there's talk about ceasefires and things such as that, but Israel is making it clear that there is not going to be a recognizable or a promoted ceasefire. They did say calm may beget calm, but this isn't a Mexican standoff in a sense. This is not, okay, we've done enough, you've done enough, let's call it quits sort of thing. No, the Israeli retaliation and response has driven both Hamas and the Islamic Jihad to their knees, begging that Israel will back off, but we'll have to wait and see. As I mentioned, the kindergarten that was hit, it was right outside the play area, and we visited Sderot from time to time, and we know that when those alarms go off, you literally have 15 seconds to make your way into a bomb shelter. And even though there were thank God, there were no casualties, the trauma that these Gaza rocket attacks caused literally last a lifetime. The indiscriminate rockets cause severe emotional damage. As I look at the pictures, I remember us walking through Sderot itself and seeing the effects of the mortar shells and the shrapnel, and it happened to be right at this particular kindergarten. Again, as I mentioned, you can read the article about the ceasefire. Israel's making it clear they're not bound by any agreement at this particular time, but again, calm may beget calm. No big surprise here that the IDF has revealed that the projectiles that have been fired into Israel, and shall I mention again, over 100, were made in, you guessed it, Iran. Not only did Israelis hit major targets in Gaza itself, apparently a new Hamas terror tunnel that penetrated deep into Israeli territory, and it ran actually from Gaza into Egypt and then out of Egypt. It came out from the Kerem Shalom crossing, and again it was close to 3,000 feet long. It has been destroyed. The IDF has said it was detected while it was still being mined. It had yet to become operational, but it's clear from the IDF spokespersons that this tunnel that was destroyed was going to be used as a dual-purpose tunnel, meaning both for terrorist activity as well as for smuggling. Couple more articles you can read about, this whole situation in Gaza. It's not just the rockets that have been launched, but the drones themselves that are launched, the kites that have the Molotov cocktails upon them as well, causing severe damage to Israeli fields. You can read about this, but again, a drone in particular was several days ago during the night, a small drone was laden with explosives, had crossed into the Israeli side of the Gaza, and the fact that it was loaded with explosives and was managed to cross into Israeli territory does prove that Gaza terrorist organizations have made significant technological progress. And again, the IDF is warning, saying, you don't realize what's happening, you're playing with fire. We will destroy Gaza if this continues. I mean, once again, it's becoming crystal clear, and so I guess we just have to take that sort of wait and see stance. And then finally, the UN response. What will the UN say in regards to over 100 rockets being launched into civilian territories? You can read that article, and don't get your hopes up. The U.S. proposed something that was brought before the UN Security Council. And once again, no big surprise here that a unanimous consensus could not be reached on the American draft resolution that would condemn these indiscriminate attacks. And finally, an article on Russia, Iran, and Syria. You can read this for yourself. My biggest concern is that in all of these agreements, and again, Russia is promising that they'll remove the Hezbollah and any Iranian forces from the Israeli Golan border whatsoever. But the problem is that it seems like Russia is calling the shots. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't make me very comfortable. So that's it for this week's Middle East update. We want to encourage you again to make sure you access all the information from our website at holygroundexplorations.com. God bless you all.